Welcome to Morning Motivation by Yolanda Felder Ministries. For this time and this season, you should find comfort in knowing that the Lord has spoken a word over your life, and it is going out to perform what it was set out to do, and it's not delayed. Hello and welcome to the Yolanda Felder Show. I am so grateful and honored that you're here joining me today. And as usual, you will not be disappointed. Now today, I want to clear up a little bit about who I am and what is the theme of my show. The theme of my show is to introduce you to someone that you've been with all your life, but you've never met. And that is you. I mean, how many of us really do know ourselves? I mean, we do have an idea of who we are, but we really don't know the true us that God created. And when you really get to that core of who you are, then there's no stopping you. And that's what this show is about. So as I go on this journey, I want to bring you along as well. How does that sound to you? I know it sounds well. Okay, well, today I want to discuss being unequally yoked. It is so important to know that we need to be equally yoked. If you ever want to go anywhere in life, if you ever want to do anything epic, number one, you have to know who you are. And then number two, it is so important to be about God's business. And three, to get around people that can help inspire you and to keep you motivated. I mean, let's face it, life has a lot of challenges. Every single day we battle and we fight to keep our faith up. And the last thing we need is to have people around us that's going to keep bringing us back to a place that we fought so hard to come out of. So that's why it's so important to be equally yoked. Okay, so I want to read to you from, it says, be not deceived. Evil communications corrupts good manners. And do not be so deceived and misled. Evil companionship, which means communion and association, corrupt and deprave good manners, morals, and character. Did you hear that? Your morals and your character is so important. And if you're not lined up with other people who share that, you can be misled. And I mean, many of us do. We enjoy helping others. As myself, I love to help one another. I believe in that. But at the same time, we have to know who we are. And in knowing who we are, then we will set boundaries to know that we need to be around certain people. Sure, you're here to help others, but we have to decide this day who is the help, and not help in a bad way, but who are we here to help, and then who is supposed to be in our inner circle. We have to set boundaries. And in knowing who you are, that's when you begin to set boundaries. You begin to know what it is and who it is that you want to be around and who you want to surround yourself with. And then at the same time, understanding that who you're here to help, don't expect anything from them. Just expect them to receive what you're saying and then ignite something in them. Like, I believe, honestly, I believe that we're all like popcorn kernels. We're all in a bag, and eventually every kernel in that bag will pop to its fullest potential in its time. And then there are some kernels that burn, but anywho, most of the popcorn in that bag, they open, they pop, they get it. And that's what our goal should be as believers. Not to spiritually mug anyone, but just to be able to be in a position to help a person out and then move on. Don't beat them over the head, because maybe you're the person that just needs to come, drop something in their spirit, and then someone else is going to come and water it, and someone else is going to nurture it. You know, we all have different roles. So my thing is always to just be about what you're here to do and not harm or hurt anyone. right? So, and we find that in Scripture, God says, in your goodness, in your quest to be able to help others, don't lose sight of who you are. Don't lose sight of why you're here and what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So I'm going all around when I want to stay focused on being equally yoked. So I want to talk about awake. We need to be awake in our spirit. This is the time to get up and be aware. Let me give you a definition of what awake is. Become active, cognizant, wake up. That's what God is saying. He's saying, awake to your righteousness. Awake to your righteousness and sin not. For some have not come to the knowledge of God. Some people, remember what I just said about the popcorn kernels? That there are some people who eventually will get it. But you, as a believer, be mindful of who you are around. Because if you're not in the right environment, you may not pop or you may burn. Thinking of the popcorn in the bag, right? Okay, so with that being said, there's other scriptures here like 1 Corinthians 15 and 33, and I want to go to that really quickly and read what that says about being equally yoked. Ooh, technology, right? And you know what I say to you today? Always be ready to give someone a word in season because it's so important. You see the state of the world that we live in right now, and people are really looking for that leader. They're looking for God, and they don't know it. They're looking for something, and they call it something. But what it is that the temperament, the atmosphere that we're in, it's like confusion. And because of the confusion, it's making people run scared, and also terror. And remember what I said last week, terror. What is terror? Terror is a spirit. It's a spirit of fear, and it thrives in your emotions. So because it thrives in the emotions, if there's words that's triggering that spirit, it like ignites something that makes people jump and become fearful, and then they respond to their emotions instead of putting their emotions in check and responding to their spirit, to the spirit of their mind. And that happens to people who don't know who they are or people who are immature in their spiritual walk. But that's not who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the believer who is mature, the believer who gets in their word, who stays in their word and know their God. Because what does God say? Those who know me will do exploits. The strength that's in you is greater than what's going on outside of you. So there's no need for you, believer, to be afraid, right? And that's why it's important to get around people who are mature in their walk. Okay, so I want to go to 1 Corinthians 15. And this is 1 Corinthians 15 and 33. It says, do not be so deceived or misled. Evil companionship, which is communion and associations, corrupt and deprave good manners, morals, and character. Awake from your drunken stupor and return to sober sense and your right minds. What is your right mind? Your right mind is the righteousness, your true self, you as the believer, who you truly are. God is saying, awake, be cognizant, come back to who you are, who I created you to be. You know, don't be fooled. If you are around people that's not going anywhere, if you are around people that are stagnant, you will become stagnant. I know people that they don't, how could I say, they really don't have real goals. Like they're just existing. And I'm sure if I know people like that, you know people like that. We all know people like that. They're stagnant. If you ask them, what is your plans for like the next 5 years? They really don't know. They'll scratch the back of their head or the top of their head and start talking like, oh, I don't really know, or no, you know what? They won't say I don't know. What they'll say is, well, I'm just trying to make it through today. I'm just trying to see, what I can do by the end of the week, because, and then they start complaining. Pay attention to that. Because as much as you love them and as much as you've known them for 100 years, guess what? It's time to move on. Because if you have set goals, if you have written things down and decided in your life that the goal for you is to be a millionaire, or your goal is to be a trillionaire, billionaire, millionaire, guess what? If you're talking to someone who really doesn't know where they want to be, what they want to do, is that the right person for you? And put aside that you may have known them 100 years. Fine. But guess what? You knew them when you were thinking along the ways of how they were thinking back then. Now we're in a different space, and it's time to come up level, come up in our thinking, awake, be cognizant of where we are, who we are, and where we're going. So we have to be mindful of that if we want to go somewhere. Like God says in the Word as well, what does light and dark have in common? Nothing. A believer and an unbeliever, what do they have in common? We're in a place now where we really have to pay attention to what people are saying, because when people tell us who they are, we have to learn to believe them. No matter how hopeful we believe that they could be, we may see them in a light where they don't see themselves. But do you need to wait for them to see the light that you see? Like I said earlier, maybe you're the person to drop a seed. Someone else will come along and water it, and someone else will come along and nurture it. That we have to understand where we are in that person's life, as well as, same with us, where are the people in our lives right now? Because one thing's for sure, we're here. We are here for a purpose, and we must be about our Father's business. As a matter of fact, repeat after me, because I have this saying that I say to myself every single morning, and I think that you would benefit from it too. And are you ready? Okay, repeat after me. I am a unique individual who has purpose. There is a need that only I can fulfill. Today, this day, I allow my dreams to be bigger than my fears, my actions louder than my words, and my faith stronger than my feelings. And repeat this to yourself every single day, because you are just that. You are a unique individual and you have purpose. And there is a need that only you can fulfill. You're the only one that can do what God has put you here to do. And if you are here in 2017, there's more living to be done, and you have yet to fulfill what your purpose is. And so really, you really don't have time to waste being around people who aren't going anywhere. Yes, you love them, but you don't spend time. You don't waste time. You call them when you have a down moment and you really want to know what's going on with them. But to be honest with you, as you press forward, as you move forward in the walk that God has laid out for you, you really won't have time to even want to know what's going on with them anymore. I mean, I know people that I was friends with in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, even people that I worked with. And most of them, I really don't speak to anymore. Not that we fell out or anything, but it's just that we see things differently. I know for me, when I was growing up, being not only child, but I was an only child for like my first 5-6 years. And then I had a little brother come along. But I know for me, I enjoy people. I like being around people, and I'm just like that kind of person. Always want to be around people, enjoy company, entertain, things like that. So friendships are big to me, and they still are big to me. But growing up, A lot of people that I was around, a lot of friends that I had in school, they would always say, Yolanda, oh, why do you think like that? Who says that? Who does that? Who wants to be that? And being in high school and people are talking that way to you, you're like, well, is something wrong with me? Like, should I not think like this? But thank God for my mother, because my mother and my father, they would always encourage me, inspire me. And the one thing that they would always say is, no matter what, get your education. Because once you have education, that is mobile. You can take your education anywhere with you. But the key thing is to always get education. Everything else will fall into place once you have an education. And so I didn't understand it then, but now I understand that. I understand that you need to look beyond where you are. You need to broaden your horizon. You need to see beyond where you actually are. I've always had plans. I've always set a goal, and I would reach it. I would reach the goal, and as a matter of fact, with God, it went beyond what I had ever imagined. And that's what I'm saying to you. Don't shrink down. It takes too much time to shrink down and to fit in a mold. A mold of who? Somebody who doesn't know you, someone who didn't create you, someone you met along the way? No, you don't want to do that. You want to be the best you. When you are the best you, when you are doing what you were put here to do, you don't even see it as work. You don't even see it as negative weight on you. You just feel like, wow, every day you wake up with something else to do, to give to the world, because you know who you are. And then everybody around you are helping you to stay ignited. Because let me tell you something. It is challenging to wake up every morning, because we all have thoughts. I mean, come on, let's think about it. Let's think about this really. Mankind on a whole is beat down. Every person is beat down. And I know there's plenty of people that'll say, no, I'm not beat down. Yes, we all are. Naturally, we are all beat down. And what happens? Somewhere along the line, there are people, our parents, teachers, people in the community that have said to us, you can be somebody. You can do this. Your grandmothers, your aunts. Remember those aunts that would tell you, oh, look at you. You're going to grow up. That's a lawyer right there. I know in my family, they would point and go, look at this one. Always arguing. That's the lawyer over there. That one over there, that's the teacher. Oh, that one's the businessman. You know, that's the singer. That's the dancer. You know, people in your family, people in your community, they point out who you are. And then later on in life, as you're maneuvering through life, those words come back to you, because now it's in perfect timing. It's in the timing of God. But let's just go back a little. What about the person who didn't have anyone to point out to them who they are? There are plenty of people like that you interact with on a daily basis, that no one poured into them. No one told them that they cared. No one told them that they matter. Those are the people that are hurtful. And out of being hurt and not loved, they exhibit behaviors that are extra, but they exhibit behaviors of someone hurt, and they show up as an angry person. They also show up as a person who always wants to be that tit for tat kind of person, that Debbie Downer. Those are those people. And I'm saying to you, that's not who you want to be associated with. I remember I was listening to Will Smith one time, and he said, look around you. Look at your 5 closest friends, and that is who you will be. I would say to myself, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But you know what? One day I did. I looked around and was like, wait a minute. I'm the biggest fish in this tank. I can't be the biggest fish in this tank. Because if I'm the biggest fish in the tank, when I need help, who's going to help me? Clearly not the fish here, like with Peter. Peter was on the boat. Peter was on a boat of mediocrity. Everybody on that boat was comfortable. And then Peter looked out in the middle of the storm. He looked out on the water, and who was walking? It was Jesus. Everybody looked out. What they saw a ghost. But Peter saw Jesus. because he heard the call. Because Peter was thinking outside of the boat, out of that mole, different from the people there. And he said, Jesus, if that's you, bid me to come. Call me. You called me? Tell me to come if that's you. And he said, come. And Peter stepped out of the comfort zone. He stepped out of mediocrity. He stepped out of the crowd. And he walked on water. And as he walked on water, he was walking on top of his circumstances and situation and just the storms of life. He was walking on top of that. And that's what Jesus is saying today to you, to me, to all of us who hear the call. Many are called, but few are chosen. And see, everybody else on that boat saw, but they saw something different from the one who heard it and said, you know what? I don't fit on this boat. I don't fit in this mold. There's something more out there for me. There's something greater out there for me. You know what? I can't continuously sit here and complain daily, day in and day out. There has to be more for me because I don't feel productive. I don't feel productive. I don't feel like I'm my full self. And that feeling doesn't come from the outside. Surely it doesn't come from the news, nor the television shows, or all of that static, all of that talk that we hear all day long on social media, on the television, on the radio. There's so many voices, and very few voices that you hear outside of you are telling you to get up, awake, walk out in what you were put here to do. Very few. You really have to shift through and be conscious. Know to go and hear something that's going to keep you ignited all day long. So, Peter walked out. He walked on top of the water. But then something happened. What happened? He started allowing, what did I just say? That talk outside of him. Not the self-talk, but the talk outside of him. Where are you going? Who told you that you can make power moves? Who told you that you were different from us? Why do you think that that can happen for you? I mean, look at where you came from. You don't have this. You're not educated. You're not the right sex. You're not the right color. You're not the right height. You're not the right weight. You didn't come from the right neighborhood. You don't know this. You don't know. All of those outside influences, those things started taking him over. So what did Peter do? He started going down. But see, Jesus who calls you, Jesus who calls you to a greater life, Jesus who calls you up out of mediocrity into greatness, into who you truly are, that same Jesus who called him and told him to come was the same Jesus that reached his hand out. See, God says, I will not suffer your foot to be moved. I will not allow you to fail. I will not allow you to fall. I won't allow you to stumble. Yeah, you may wiggle a little, but I got you. That's all throughout the word. He says that I got you. Just believe me. Just trust me. Not the outside, not the storm that was going on just now. Trust me. And when he reached out to pick up Peter, he said, you, O little faith. What happened? What happened is he allowed what was outside of him, what he was walking on top of, get the best of him. That's what he was allowing. And that's what I'm saying to you today. Stop allowing the outside voices, the outside circumstances and situations to hinder you. Nothing like faith. It takes faith to move. It takes faith to be able to go out and do what you were called to do. It takes faith. Faith is not a feeling. Faith is not a feeling. Faith is an establishment in your mind. Faith is a decision, a strong-arm decision in your head that you have said, you know what? I'm going to believe this word no matter what. I don't care what's going on outside of me. I believe what the word says. The word says that I'm a head and not the tail, then that's what I am. I'm going to walk like I am what? The head. I operate from above and not beneath. I am a lender and not a borrower. What does that mean? That means that I have more than enough, that I have overflow, that I am here to give, not to get, but to give. Why? Because I know that my source comes from above. I know that my help comes from where? Above. And I access that because I am the head and not the tail. Because I'm the head, I operate from above. I'm not down here where that boat is of mediocrity, where everybody, what can I call the masses? God didn't call you to the masses. God called you and set you up high and above. And if you continue to stay down here where other people are, you're going to miss it. Well, no, I'm not going to say you're going to miss it, because you won't. You won't miss it. It's just how you will show up when you get there. But whatever it is that God has put in us, it will come to pass. He has shown us visions. He has shown us dreams. And now is the time. This is the perfect timing. This is the will of God. Where we are right now, we're supposed to be operating in that. Now, granted, the climate is a little different. It's way different than what we anticipated, what we believe. But guess what? I believe that God is here and that he wants his kingdom to weigh heavy on the earth. And in order for that to happen, he has to shake up some things. Because see, if God is truly the one true power, then anything that's going on, it's because God has allowed it. He has allowed it to wake up. Remember, he says in the word, wake up, O sleeper. Wake up. Wake up where? In your mind. Take the veil off. The veil has been lifted. Open your eyes to see who you are. You are powerful. You are great. You are extraordinary. I did not create you to be in a mold, to stay on the boat, to stay where you were in kindergarten, to stay in the old neighborhood, to stay in that old mindset. I created you to come up higher because you are higher. You have greatness in you, and that greatness is me. So if I'm in you, I'm in the power. I just need for you to say yes. I need for you to have that mentality that says, you know what? I don't care what's going on outside of me. I'm pressing forward. I am focused. I believe what the word says. You don't wave to the left or to the right. You stay focused because I'm going to get you there. I have set the angels ahead of you to clear the path that you may be able to accomplish all that I set out for you to do. You will accomplish it because it is I that is in you. The day that you said yes to me, the day that you said yes to me, I took that and I entered in, and it is I that takes you into all truth. It is I that's going to get it to you. I promised you the greatness of this land. I promised you an inheritance. I promised you life, and life to the fullest in abundance. And if you are living anything below a full life, if you're living anything below what I have established in your life, then you are not living in me. You are living in something other than me. And I command you this day to come up in your thinking, come up higher, because there's too much that I need for you to do. I need for you to examine what is going on around you and make changes. Make changes, but guess what? Because you said yes and I entered in, guess what? You got the power right now to accomplish anything. It is I who give you the power to gain wealth. I said that you are the head and not the tail. You are a lender and not a borrower. So in order for you to be a lender and not a borrower, you can't rely on a system that looks to defeat you. You can't rely on lies. You can't rely on shadiness. No, you got to rely on what I said. And how do you know what I said? By spending time with me. How do you spend time with me? By opening my book. Opening my book and taking in my word. It is this power that is in you that is ignited for this time, this season, this moment, right now. That is what God wants us to do. He wants us to operate in the fullness of Him. And He can't do things on this earth without us. Now, I don't want to go into the whole thing about authority and power and laws and things like that. That's a whole nother day. But what I will say is that the more you spend time in the Word, the more empowered you would become. The more strength you will have. God says, as your days are, so shall your strength be. So every day that you're on this earth, you are getting stronger because you're spending time in the Word. And the Word is what empowers you. You know, outside of us, everything is telling us it's a fight. It's a fight. And it shows physical fights. That's not God. As long as you stay in the natural, as long as you stay below thinking that you need to physically fight someone or that someone's going to physically harm you, you're not in the spirit. And it is what the spirit does that causes it is what the spirit does that causes, yes, the manifestation here. So whatever is going on in the spirit, you see it here in the natural. So when someone is revving up, you know, and they're so hateful, it's not a healthy spirit. That's a spirit of low level. And that's what I mean. You don't want to come down to that level when you were created to be above and not beneath. People that operate on this level, they will always be defeated. When people operate from a place of, you know, sexism or racism or classism, that's a spirit of low life. And that's not who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to believers, because believers recognize and understand that God loves everybody because he created man in his image and in his likeness. And that we're all here not to control one another, but to help one another to come up. So when you see that people are being separated based on their class, their socioeconomic background, their sex, their race, that's a spirit of low life. That's a low-level mentality. That's a Canaanite spirit. And I could go on and on about the different spirits, but I'm not. What I'm going to say to you is that that is not you. That is not you. And when you are speaking to people and they get into racism, step out of that. Don't comment. Don't say anything. You don't have to respond. Don't respond with that, because that's too low for you. You are up here, not down there. When somebody talks about someone's sex, listen, again, that's too low for you. You have to stay above. You know how they say take the high road? Listen, you're already on the high road. Stop coming back down, because as long as you come down and you meet that person down there, you will be defeated. And you won't be operating from a spirit of above. You will be operating down here. And down here, you will always be defeated. And that's where the enemy wants to keep you. The enemy enjoys keeping you down here with your face to the ground. No. As a believer, we know that our head is above, that we draw from above. In order for us to draw from above and help others, we have to stay here. Not you're better than anyone, but you're here to teach and to help. That's what you're here to do. It's not a better than. But at the same time, you will not be dragged down. And that's what we have to keep in mind. It is so important to keep that in mind. Now, back to Peter and being on the boat and walking out, understanding the call. What desires do you have in your heart? What is it that you truly see for yourself? What do you see for yourself? Do you see yourself much higher than where you are right now? Do you hear a call? What happens when you're in the church service? Or what happens when you're sitting there and you're watching TV? I know for me, like, I like to see different talk show hosts. Not everyone, but just various ones I watch. And I watch not so much for their segments, but I watch and admire how they look to help others, and also how they took that gift, the gift that God has given them, and just moved out in it. And they're no different than you. What did God put in your heart for you to do? And let me tell you something. Get out of the mindset of what you don't have. Stay away from the no's. That's why I said, you cannot be unequally yoked. You have to be around people that say yes to life, not no to life, but yes to life. It is so important. So what is it that you're saying no to that perhaps you were called to do? What are those desires in your heart that you feel, that you see? What is it that you sit down and say, you know what, I could do that. You know what, I can do that. I think I will. But then what happens? Something happens, that self-talk of, no, you can't do that. No, you're not the person for that. Oh, you know what, so many people tried that before and they failed. So, naturally, that won't happen for you. Only a few people that can happen for. And see, that's one of the things that I really despise a lot about the society that we live in, the world that we live in. They think from a place of lack. And when you think from a place of lack, it causes people to dislike one another and then sit down on their gift. Like, okay, let's look at athletes, for example. There's so many talented basketball players, football players, soccer players, tennis players, but yet they're always showing us one. They always spotlight one. Why? Because it makes it gives the appearance like this person pushed through and they're greater than everybody else. No, that's not true. There are so many people out here who play football, who play basketball. Why not create more teams? Why not create more leagues? Why does it have to be somebody walking away disappointed? That's not God. There's no lack. There's more than enough room. There's more than enough wealth out here that you can create a team. You can create a team probably for every neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't sound crazy. Maybe to your mind it may be crazy, but no, it's not. Because there's not one person that can play football, and then what, we have to wait until he's injured before the next person can step up? No. Create a system where everybody wins, because everybody here can win once they come up in their thinking. But again, I'm going to keep saying it over and over. We live in a system that's about stepping on you and keeping you down. And if you for 1 minute think that you can rise up, let me just step on you a little more. And that's to everybody. Don't think for 1 minute that one race is greater than the other, because that's not true. Anybody who's stepping on you is a person who's already stepped on. That's why they want to step on you, because they can't see past their ignorance. So if they're ignorant, they see the world through ignorant lenses. So don't think of anybody greater than yourself, because greatness is in you. When you look outside of you, if you feel good about yourself and happy about yourself and know where you're going, guess what? The only thing you look through is your eyes. And when you look through your eyes, you're looking through your mind. And when you open your mouth, the only thing you want to do is up-level someone. But if you find that you're very negative, and then everybody else around you is negative, that's a volatile environment. And you're not going anywhere. You nor the people around you. Nothing came out of a conversation where everyone is complaining, but more hatred, more animosity, and a revved up feelings. That's all. But this day, from the sounds of my voice, you want to come up from that. You no longer want to stay in that place, nor do you want to listen to stuff that's like that. Who says that you have to listen to traditional news? Because to me, honestly, that's the key thing that's causing everybody to dislike one another. It's causing animosity from one neighborhood to the next neighborhood, from one race to another race, from one political view to another, from one believer to another believer, all different religions. You don't know these people. None of us, the majority of us, do not know half the people that we don't like. You don't call them over for dinner. You don't call them on the phone and have conversations. You don't text them and speak to them. So how do you know you dislike them? How do you know you dislike them? You dislike them based on the information that's being fed to you. And don't think for 1 minute that that information that's being fed to every last one of us is not strategic. Remember, in the Bible, it says that the prince of the air, that's darkness. Darkness is ignorance. And ignorance, what did I say? Ignorance likes to keep you down. Because if you ever wake up in your mind, and see that you are the great one and that your brother next to you is hurting just like you're hurting, if you ever wake up in your mind and ignite that person, you become stronger together. And that's something that the enemy does not want you to do. We must all understand something, that the enemy does not like one single man. Not one man does that enemy like. The enemy is not a person. The enemy is a spirit. And that spirit will get into anybody who says, yes, come on in. If there is no God there, there's only two kingdoms, kingdom of darkness and kingdom of light. So if you're not operating from God, who are you operating from? Excuse me. Where are you operating from? What kind of information are you getting? You're getting information that's being poured into you to keep you on a low-level mentality and then make everybody around you on a low level. And as long as you stay in the natural, and that's what I keep going back to that, as long as you stay in the natural, you will always be defeated as a human being. You have to come up and recognize who and what is pouring into you. What is causing all of the hatred? What is causing all of the lack mentality? What is causing people to want to harm the next person? Who wants to speak ill to the next person? We must understand something, that if everybody on this earth was to die right now, what would happen to the earth? The earth would die. So then, why did God need to make us? Why did he need to have us here? He created us to represent him here on this earth. Him in the heavens, we on the earth. So remember, Satan was cast down. And because he was cast down, he's angry. So understand, he doesn't like nobody. Nobody. He's the only one that benefits from your hurt. He's the only one that benefits from your anger. He's the only one that benefits from your low-level thinking. It's time to come up. It's time to come up in your thinking. Come up in who you are. But again, you cannot come up if you don't know who you are. And you can never find out who you are if you're around a bunch of people who don't know who they are. Answer that call on your life. It's a huge call. It's a large call. But it's a call that you don't have to do by yourself. This walk, it may be challenging, but it's only challenging because we're used to living under ignorance and darkness. And now that the light is on, now that the light is on in our minds, that's when it becomes challenging. It becomes challenging because everything that you've ever known all your life is coming into question. And that's what happens. People start questioning, well, I thought that it was this, and I thought it was that. And that is a hard pill to swallow. When you thought all your life that you were the best thing since sliced bread, then you recognize that, no, that's not really so. That everybody is the best thing since sliced bread, you know? So my thing is, get around people that inspire you. Because, I mean, really, there are a lot of people out here that heard the call, said yes, and they're operating in this. And let me tell you something. I really believe, in my hardest heart, I really believe that the time that we're in is a time to come up, gain ground, and be fruitful. I believe that. Because how can you ever change? This is why I believe that this that's going on is from God. He's using the enemy to push us along. You know, a tree only grows in crisis. You hit the bottom of the tree, and the tree goes into crisis, and the branches start growing. And such is with mankind. You will stay on that boat of mediocrity if there's not a rocking. if there's not a movement, if there's not something that's calling you out of your comfort zone. And that's what's happening. The time that we're in right now, this is the day of the Lord. This is God's time. And I remember God said, stop looking at what the enemy is doing and look at what I'm doing. And that's what I'm saying to you today. Stop looking at what is happening. It's happening to move you along. It's happening to introduce you to you, the inside of you, the greatness in you. That's what this is about. Remember in the word, it says that God separates the wheat from the tare. And that's the time that we're in. You're going to see, like in Psalms 91, that many are going to fall by your wayside, right? But it won't harm or hurt you. You're going to see people fall. But those were people that were never in the kingdom, that they didn't hear the call. They didn't say yes. And this is not fear. I'm not promoting fear at all. Fear can't, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is recognize that you are right now in a very good place. If you feel like overwhelmed, if you feel like, oh my God, what else can I do? Everything around me is changing. What can I possibly do? You're in a great place right now to become a millionaire. Right now. Why do I say that? Because it has ignited this here society, the environment that we're in, it's breaking up ground. So it's causing people, those strong people, the people, and let me tell you something, all of us are strong. When you say yes, right there, you are strong. And in your saying yes, it's creating in you that new creature right now. And it's you who are going to make a change, not just for this generation, but generations to come. So right now in you is fruit. God said that I want you to bear fruit and that the fruit remains. And you will not fail. You will not fall. Not as long as you are connected to me. I am in you and you are in me. You can't fail. So with that being said, did you really think that you can be all that you need to be with the way that the system is set up? No, absolutely not. The only way that you can be the way you need to be is to know who you are. How will you know who you are? Unless there's some sort of disruption, that ground breaking. So that way you'll be able to get up in your thinking and say, you know what, I'm angry. It's time for change. I'm sick and tired of like in Chicago and many cities around us, sick and tired of children and people being shot, sick and tired of honest children who want to go to school every day, but they can't because they have to be concerned with, will they have to be a part of a gang or be gunned down? Aren't you sick and tired of that? Yes, absolutely. Are you sick and tired of your dollar not stretching? Are you sick and tired of putting out more than what you're getting back? And see, that's not godly, because in the kingdom of God, in what God has spoken to us, what we sow, we reap. So there's something wrong with you paying for something and the value is not matching what you just paid for. It's supposed to be a healthy exchange. If there's no healthy exchange, then that is not of God. And God is calling us, all of us right now, to be about his business, to make changes that our children and our children's children and our children's children can do better and have better. I'm so sick and tired of people thinking about today, thinking about now. Do you know that our ancestors, years and generations ago, the things that they were praying for a greater day. And they even accepted the fact that maybe they won't see it, but they want it for their children. They made a conscious decision that, you know what, I may be living like this, but my children won't. What I do today, what I say today, what I create today is going to be for my children, my children's children, my children's children, and my children's children. And that should be you today, because we are all benefiting from the prayers and works of people before us. And we cannot sit on our gift. We cannot be the reaping season, and that's what we're in. We are the reaping generation. We are reaping the benefits. We are reaping the harvest of what people have planted many, many years ago. And we're supposed to keep it going. We're supposed to keep it going. You know, not stay here and just eat from the fat of the land. What about your children and the children's children? What about your neighbors? What about the environment all around you? Let me tell you something. Don't be fooled. You will not benefit if everyone else around you is dying. If everyone else around you is failing and you're happy because you're succeeding, that's the wrong spirit. As you're coming up, of course, because let me finish with Peter. Peter, who was walking on water, God reached out and grabbed Peter. And when he grabbed Peter, he said, "You are little faith. What happened to your faith?" And then he lifted Peter up. And then him and Peter got back on the boat. And when Peter got back on the boat, he told his brothers and sisters, everybody that was on the boat, what happened. And then he elevated them. And he didn't get back on that boat by himself. This time, he was on the boat with Jesus. And that's just it. Jesus is saying, I called you into a deeper walk. In this walk, keep your mind on me. Keep your eyes on me. And I will pull you through the storms of life. If you keep your eyes on me, I will pull you through and you will not fail. And then as I pull you through, after you have come through the storm, after you have continuously walked on top of this, guess what? I'm going to take you back. Not back to where you came from, but put you in an environment where you'll be able to pull your brothers and sisters through the same way I pulled you through. And guess what? You won't be alone, because that same power that pulled you through is the same power that's with you as you share to lift up the others. And that's what I mean about you can't possibly want to prosper and nobody else around you is prospering. No, that's not the spirit. And that's why I'm saying to you today to come up in your thinking. Come up in your thinking, move out on what it is that you see for yourself, your community, your family, your children, your spouse, your businesses, your job. What do you see? You see greatness because you have greatness in you. Oh, and another thing I want to say is, if you keep your eyes on God and understand and recognize that power within, he said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men to you, because God is exalted. So where God is exalted, he draws them in. And when he draws them in, it is him that's drawing them in, not you. It is him, but he needs your body to draw them in. So that way their lives can be saved. So again, you go through a storm, you weather it, you come out triumphantly, and then that same spirit that helped you come out of it triumphantly is the same spirit that's going to cause you to operate in overflow. That you will give, you will share, you will lift up your brothers and sisters everywhere. That's that heart for God. And don't let the enemy continuously tell you that you can't, that you've made mistakes, and that mistake you made yesterday, how could you possibly move forward? How could God possibly use you? Guess what? He already died for our sins, past, present, and future. What do you think that? You make a mistake, and what is a mistake? A mistake is a lesson learned. That's what it is. It's not a mistake. It's I made this decision. That wasn't the route I needed to go. So what? I changed my mind. I go back over here. That's all it is. Now you know. You don't go that way again, right? You don't make that decision again. You keep it moving. And if you continue to make that decision, make a decision that takes you off course, guess what? God is faithful. God is faithful. He will get you to where he needs you to be. He will pull you through. There is no temptation that can overtake you that God hasn't already prepared a way out. That's right. You may be in it now, but there's a way out. It's already there for you to take. Come on out. And guess what? And he said that you will come out because he is in you. And it is he that called you to this life. And because it is he that called you to this life and you said yes, let's look at Peter again. Stepping out. God, is that you? If that's you, tell me to come. Yes, come. So I called you. I chose you. You saw me out of everybody else on that boat. You saw me. And you said yes. And then you came out and I pulled you through. No matter what was going on, I still pulled you through. I entered in. And then now you and I are one. And we are changing the world. We are changing the world by the thousands. And that's what it's about. That's what God wants. He wants you to always know that there is somebody who needs you, who needs you. And don't be tricked by the scenario that plays over and over and over again. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, no. Who told you that you can do that? You're not the person for that. God didn't call you for that. Are you sure he called you for that? Because look at your credentials. That person is perfect and this person is perfect. Guess what? No one's perfect. And God knows that. He knows that no one is perfect. And that is why, if you have a heart for him, he will enter in, and it is his power with your established mindset that you are going to stay focused on what he called you to do. Guess what? Those two things together, word and spirit, equals power. And you can't do anything but prosper. It gives God great pleasure to give you the treasures of your heart, to give you the treasure of life, your desires, the goodness, the greatness that he is the one who created for you to have. It doesn't benefit him. It doesn't benefit God at all that you fail. Oh, no. It only benefits one, and that's the enemy. The enemy wants you to fail, not God. So step away from that low-level thinking. Step away from those people that haven't quite grown yet and come out into the fullness, the abundance, the joy of the Lord. God has called you to come up higher in your thinking, to establish you. He said, I'll make your name great. He said that I have blessings for you, and they're for you and generations to come. And it's not hard. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. My yoke is easy. Stay connected in the Word. Stay connected in the Word. Stay connected in the Word. God loves you. And again, it doesn't benefit him for you to fail or your children or anything you put your hands to. Allow God today to move out and move through you. I promise you, you will walk out in prosperity. And prosperity is just breakthrough. That's what prosperity is a breakthrough in who you are, lacking nothing. So, remember, you are a unique individual who has purpose. And there is a need that only you can fulfill. Remember that. Remember, be encouraged, be inspired, but mostly be transformed. Why settle for no when yes is available? Bye-bye.
What it was set out to do, and it's not delayed.